Canary is an oilfield service company, and we basically sell valves and pressure control equipment to oil and gas companies. So I feel like we have a good nexus on this trade war because we're involved in the oil and gas industry, but we're also a supplier and subject to a lot of these different constraints. So our business is really kind of multifaceted and vertically integrated, but we manufacture typically in the range of 10 to 20% of our goods domestically, primarily in Oklahoma, and we purchase the balance predominantly from China. So first of all, the tariffs, when the tariffs were first announced, was just on aluminum and steel being imported into the U.S. And so that affects our domestic manufacturing business. And one of the kind of largest unintended consequences or that we felt was, so when you look in the media, you read about the amount of the tariffs and there's a comment period and there's a certain amount of time and then they're going to go into effect. Well, as an operating business, it's not really what happened at all from my standpoint. There were two unintended consequences. Number one, our prices went up pretty much overnight. So instead of it being there being a comment period and a period when they were going into effect, we were hit with something like 22 to 24% increases pretty much in 24 hours. The other and so that was a shock to our system, and we weren't really prepared for it, and we had to adapt, which is what you do in business. But we figured it out. The other unintended consequence, which has really kind of hurt us more, is traditionally in the past we were able to get quotes, and the metal providers would hold the quotes for us for generally 2 weeks to a month, depending on the project, the size, and the quantity. Well, after the announcement of the tariffs, that pretty much has all been thrown away, and now the industry practice for the kind of volumes that we buy has been reduced to 2 to 4 days. The second area where the tariffs have impacted us is the having manufactured goods in China. And this is a substantial and integral part of our business. I actually just flew in, I flew in here from Vietnam, but I was in China for about a week and a half 2 weeks ago. And so we have a very integrated supply chain in China, and this has really impacted our business because in addition to the costs going up, there's a lot of uncertainty around whether or not, or how much the Chinese manufacturers should value our business. So if they're looking at customers in the Middle East or domestic demand for the valves that we buy, first the Middle East, first West Africa, versus American business, the American business is now a little bit devalued because the trade situation is very destabilizing, and they don't quite know what to make of it. And this has impacted our ability to forecast, and this has impacted our ability to work with our Chinese partners in terms of where we're going. I worry that this is going to stunt economic growth. I think it's definitely stunted our companies, likely to maybe hit pause on growing for a year because of this, unless we can find a Vietnamese solution relatively quickly, which is not really something we want to do. We're really set up to work with China. Our procurement office is focused on people that are bilingual, and we have good relationships, and we have good vendors and partners in China that we manufacture with, that we have long-term relationships with. But I think that this policy is, likely to reduce economic growth in the medium term, and a more responsible media would focus on that more, and that we should really think about, those kinds of issues as well when looking at this. If you guys are interested, there's a CNBC article and a South China Morning Post article about the meeting I had, or the delegation I was a part of, speaking about the meeting we had where they said that they didn't fear a trade war. So in summation, I think that there's unintended consequences, I guess maybe to every policy, but specifically to this policy. And I think it has negative ramifications for both countries And I'm hopeful that Trump and Xi Jinping will be able to find a solution where everybody can save face, but we can just focus on, economic growth and moving forward together. I think the world doesn't need a sick China. The world doesn't need a sick U.S. And frankly, if the two of us pull each other down, that's close to 40% of GDP. Who's strong enough to pick up that ball? I don't think India is. I don't think Europe is. I don't think Russia is. So I think that could be, pretty frightening. So thank you.